So, the killing of Nipsey Hussle, randomly at that. Like, subscribe, ID in the Discovery Channel. Yes, ID in the Discovery Channel. The links are provided below. Get that Discovery Go app as well as that ID Go app. You might want to get those two things, combine them, make them into one. So, yes, the murder of Nipsey Hussle, which is odd in itself, rather strange, and yet it's not. Seeming police, in fact, law enforcement ID the suspect, which goes by the name of, yeah, I said which goes by, kind of like a it and something like that. Eric Holder, by the age of 29 years old, LA resident. He and Hussle, in fact, had ties. Anytime there's gang related activity going on, even if it stemmed in the past ties or whatever with that situation and things happen, is to say this could in fact be the outcome in that. You want to be careful who you surround yourself with. Rest in peace, Hussle. That's just sad. It was bothersome for the simple fact, him coming from rap, still being involved in rap, and yet having a explorative mind just enough to venture off into the tech world. Like a Elon Musk, and yet a Brown figure with that sort of thing. Building computers, that was in fact something he got into, and I'll speak about that a little bit later. But this video in itself, that's in fact the suspect. He was in fact once again ID'd and a warrant issued. Because I wrote all this out by hand yesterday, me myself writing out stuff, and it taking a long time, as well as me online on social media posting, trying to question and telling other individuals how to question things. This is in fact more of a sample now that a suspect has been identified, as well as the warrant. When you put in much time and effort in questioning things, it works logic and reasoning. You don't want to throw away the paperwork just because law enforcement yes, has found or located an individual. That is in fact for bum losers to say, well, let me do all this time, effort, and whatever's been identified, let me just trash that. No, you in fact keep that, because he may or may not be the individual. You see what I'm saying? So these questions are how you would in fact question a situation like this and not go by he say, she say. That's in fact for bum losers as well. I come from the hood of all places. Yes, and I know what I'm speaking on. Well, he says, no, you want to question logically with that and thoroughly. So the tweet, Nipsey's last tweet, it read, "Having strong enemies are a blessing." I should in fact have posted that, but it's a little bit too late for that. It's in fact in my phone. He wrote out, and I questioned that last night online, having strong enemies are a blessing. Let me see if I can pull out that message, the message that in which I wrote. When I said him posting that like that, it almost sounds as if it was how somebody threatened you before you die. Somebody threatened you before you die. And yet what you do is you get on social media and you, in a sense, reverse that to put it out so that whoever threatened you before death has access to see, in a sense, what they said to you. Like, so him saying having strong enemies are a blessing, that almost sounds like the individual told him, well, I'm coming with such and such. You know how gang ties or gang activity and the threats with that. I'm coming with such and such. Me and the team is coming. You would in fact reverse that by saying, if you were the person threatened and somebody said, well, I'm bringing such and such, right? Or I'm a strong armed man, I will give it to you, or something like that. If you was a Nipsey Hussle, you would more likely in fact reverse that by saying having strong enemies are a blessing. Reversing it. I just said that four or five times. So when I asked the question on social media, I asked if someone threatened someone before they killed the person, will the person they threatened tweet it subliminally? And then I asked, was Nip threatened, and did he post it to get it out there, to let the individual know? It's important knowing. Another question that I asked, and this more than likely is in my notes. This is going to be like a long, thorough questioning video, more so than anything else, right? Because people need to learn how to research and ask proper questions. So another question I asked on social media, I said, did Nipsey fire, despite whoever being, yes, police searching for the individual right now. I asked, did Nipsey fire or fall out with any employees from his businesses? I said that should have been the very first question in the streets. Was anyone fired within 6 months to a year? Ask random questions in research. Because see, the he say, she say, that's futile. That's a waste of time. Well, such and such said no. I don't listen to that sort of thing unless it comes from law enforcement with that. So yes, the firing, anytime location, the questioning and the abstraction with that, anytime a location is targeted like that, you would in fact want to question surrounding that environment. Because there's a reason why that place of business was in fact targeted, and now we're coming to know and understand why as time go on. But remember, this was all written before, right? So could Nipsey, when it comes to his past acts, could Nipsey have done something in the past to make a shooter want to take him out? I ask all the good and right questions, right? Why everybody just says, well, no. End of gangs. So Nipsey was shot a day before he was to meet with LAPD to talk about ways to stop gang violence and help LAPD help the kids, right? That was stated by Police Commissioner Steve Soberoff. That was in fact his intention. I want you to use your logic and reasoning skills with that, dear viewer, pertaining to what I just asked. What could be up underneath that in relation to Nipsey going or speaking with law enforcement saying he wanted to stop, gang violence within the area? Or just, yes, LA in itself. Could there have been something deep rooted? See, because you can remove yourself from something such as gang activity. Remember, he was a gang member as a teen, right? The Rolling 60s, Nipsey in fact was. You can remove yourself from an activity and still have ties. People still have old friends and buddies that they still hang out with from time to time or socialize with, even if it's from a distance, even from afar, even up close, sometimes even in secrecy, right? And yet you still want to separate yourself from all that by, say, being a responsible member to society, by helping law enforcement help kids not be involved with that sort of thing. There's just something much more deeper, because see, when I looked at that, when I read more thoroughly into it, it takes thinking much more up under the surface for a police commissioner to say that he spoke to them. Nipsey did talk to law enforcement to talk about ways to stop the whole gang violence and to help LAPD with the kids. What that made me thought at first, when I first heard it, was maybe somebody, this individual could be somebody else that was sent through somebody else for the individual, could have been threatening him. How you secretly do something to an individual and say that person tries to go take cover over next to where LAPD is? Could it have been one of those situations involving Nipsey where, say, whoever gang member was threatening him, his tie relations, and say he was trying to get more close to LAPD with that to protect himself? And maybe he just used the kids. Maybe that was his intention, but maybe there was something more to that. Maybe Nipsey had been being threatened because the year is still fresh. The beginning of the year, we're almost in the mid, right, somewhat section with that. But maybe his life was in fact being threatened, and maybe he was trying to gain closer access with LAPD to surround himself to protect. Now, I'm sure he had enough money for bodyguards and the rest, and it's questionable why he even, I can understand you want to give back to the hood. Remember, I come from the hood, right? But to be of that status and continue to stay in that environment is to know that death is going to await you sooner or later. Remember, there's opportunists and jealousy. So what made me question, well, where was his bodyguards at to begin with? A man that walks around that proudly and doesn't carry bodyguards, that could yes, lead in poor results. So sometimes individuals like that would in fact, once again, for the third, fourth, fifth time, reach out to LAPD to say this is what's up. But before they make it there, involve kids in naming and saying that I want to help the kids, and yet seeming that they haven't been given enough time to thoroughly say, this is why I want to be much more closer to LAPD. It's something more to that. I don't know what that is, but I do think he had the intention of helping kids, but it's something more to that. It's a protection manner that stands out with LAPD in the form of bodyguard protection or something. So, cause of death. Nipsey died from gunshot wounds to the head and torso. The markings, yes, sound very personal, in which they were, because to shoot and kill somebody, you got people, they shoot and kill people and then go kick a person in the head or kick them in the face. Stuff like that is surveillance video for all that in the offering. That's a little bit taking it too far. It's taking it, and it shows immaturity with that sort of thing. So tragic murder. When it comes to the situation, at around 3:20 p.m., a shooting was reported in the area of Slauson Avenue and Crenshaw Boulevard, right outside of Nipsey's place of business, his clothing store, which goes by the name of Marathon Clothing. I'm sure all you guys saw the stampede and how bad that makes black folks look, whatever the situation with that. Why can't people have closure and peace when there's death? Why it's got to be all extra activity? I'm just asking. Remember, I come from an environment I done seen it all. A stampede? I mean, so there was surveillance video of the situation. I spoke about that. Black male, of course, you've seen his face. So Nipsey's business pursuits, that's questionable. That is highly questionable, right? You don't want to ever, this is my 10th time saying despite, because see, this is all about connecting the dots to begin with. Just because a suspect is being looked for after being ID'd and the warrant issued and all the rest, this still surrounded a place of business. Therefore, you're going to surround yourself mentally in questioning that place of business in relation to connecting the dots, as in what all could have been said and who else could have been involved with Nipsey and the individual that killed him, that could have been involved in Nipsey's business ordeals, even on a day-to-day basis. So his business pursuits, when I'm questioning the documentation, I would question, what was the last document signed? Who were they signed with? These is Nipsey's documentations, by the way. What were the last documents signed? Who were they signed with, as in for? What was the reason behind the documentation? Were others involved in signing with Nipsey for business ventures? How were Nipsey's business ties and or business associations in relation to business transactions and or operations? The business operations. So company disputes between founder and or investors. This goes much more deep dive, and this is investigative. FBI stuff like that. Outside of asking, did Nipsey fire someone? I asked that in the beginning of the video. Could Nipsey have fallen out with someone within the company who would have wanted to take over the company and or possibly run it after he were killed? Is that possible? Is that possible for one man to exchange business with another individual, right? Them being in the same building, place of business operations, and say that person hires somebody, pays whoever off to kill them so that they can take over. Sometimes husband and wives do that sort of thing, and yet I don't think Laura London would get into that. I can't see her being that type of individual. But you still want to question anyway. You don't want to stop with that. So, owing money, do people fall out with their investors? Even rappers have investors. Even upcoming rappers have investors where, say, you're trying to get signed and you have somebody pay whoever, right? With that, yes, record deals and all labels with that. Do people fall out with their investors? Could Nipsey have owed anyone business money and say a hit was placed on him over such? Because, see, I keep sensing this individual killed him out of jealousy or some past failed relationship or deal with that. How people be angry, mad at each other, right? It points into more so bitter feud, right? With that, but still jealousy or something. I don't know why. Nipsey's business or businesses. What all were Nipsey's businesses used for? And do you think Nipsey could have went about getting funds for his businesses legally or illegally, past or present? I want you, the viewer, to pick that apart. This is for them rappers out there that like to, do that sort of thing outside of conspiracy theorists and all that. Think wisely outside of all of that. Could the man have funded his businesses with legal funds or illegal funds, whether past or present? Could there have been any drug money surrounding the funding of Nipsey's business or businesses? Don't get mad at me, because I know how people do things. I got much love for Nipsey, and yet still there's ways when you do stuff, you got ties. You don't know people's secret ties and how they do things. Future endeavors. Who would have wanted to stop and or prevent Nipsey from furthering his mission of teaching youth in the hood technology? Youth. Who would have wanted to stop or prevent Nipsey from furthering his mission or his cause of teaching youth in the hood technology, such as building computers, which is something he liked to do. Technology and all that was the main thrill of his, or on the side with that. He, in fact, taught himself to build computers, and I stated that. But would anyone in the environment would have wanted to get in the way of that? I like walking all the way around in details surrounding. He loved and admired the works of Mark Zuckerberg, which is Facebook founder, and the works of Elon Musk of Tesla. So gaining in death. Who would have something to gain from Nipsey and him being dead? Whether it was a tie over here and a rivalry right there, whatever with that, and this individual suspect photograph, not Nipsey, the individual, yes, Eric Holder, with that, what would that individual have to gain in killing or knocking somebody off in the way that it happened? What could be gained in that? Killing somebody and, kicking them or whatever, doing them in real good as they're laying there dying, or with that, right? Dead. What would be what would be a gain to that? What could you gain out of that? I can't think of anything but payback. That sort of thing. Some people might say snitching or whatever, right? Or somebody calling somebody a snitch. That's still not a reason to go kill somebody. If you can't take words as to say, well, my goodness, get off the playing field with that. So, or let me see, or Nipsey. Could Nipsey have been killed by a random thug? Remember, this was in fact yesterday as well as a date. Yes, all this, when you write something out, you go thoroughly and deeply in relation to asking a random thug question. Not a random thug. I just made a new wording with that sort of thing. You might in fact want to tag somebody with what I just said. Could he have been killed by a random thug despite sensing, LAPD sensing it was someone he knew personally? Because I'm gonna ask much more deeply with that in a little bit. Random, because I know KRS-One back in the day did say the easiest way, yes, to do something is to kill a famous rapper. KRS-One said that himself. How people could easily kill a famous rapper, walk away, and to never be. Yeah, things that people know. So, enemies. Has Nipsey ever called out any enemies in any recent songs or in any interviews? Rappers, once again, would know about that. They'll know what I'm speaking on. The rap game and the rivalry with that. Rapping is nothing more than an act. An act. I ain't gonna go much more deeper than that, but the things that I know about industry ain't all what you see in that face is all I can tell you about. Yes, with that. The rivalries at times in fact be fake beefs. As in they're pre-planned and all that other stuff. I was gonna say premeditated, and yet not that completely. But people still in fact get killed off of fake beefs as well. So did he call out enemies or any affiliations to anyone in a negative manner? Did he do that in any recent songs or any interviews? I tried to scour the net. I even went through the timeline of one of his social media accounts, which I spoke about, right? And trying to decipher, did anybody see? Because some people in fact hide their face when they're on social media, and they'll say certain things to call you out, to let you know they're gonna kill you or whatever else. But more bold people do that sort of stuff in the face, right? I tried to see if anybody did that. How they hide behind, or they send somebody to get online and say certain things, and yet they do it subliminally on your account. There was nothing more than, say, a few lyrics recited or whatever, word for word, or verbatim by many fans of his. Racks in the Middle. I think that's the name of the song, one of the last songs. I didn't see anything else or anybody standing out. But the thing that did stand out to me was his homie Fats that died somewhere around the age of 30. How he said he wished that Fats could still be here. There's no way to make him reappear. Him being 30 years old, because that's one of the lyrics within the track itself, Racks in the Middle. Let me make sure I'm getting that title right. Nipsey, one of Nipsey's last songs, Racks in the Middle, in which he was promoting and all the other stuff. He got Dave used it and all that goes with that. But there was supposed to be more that was coming in May of 2019 that is not going to come, right? But you want to look thoroughly into that, very investigative, to see, was anybody on his social media account letting them know to be fearful and timid with that, we coming for you, or anything like that, right? But once again, his homie Fats, what stood out to me was that line on his account where it was mentioned by different people randomly, was saying, reciting the lyrics in a sense, about Fats being 30, in his 30s, and him dying. It was just weird. Sometimes when people, before they die, sometimes the timeline be somewhat sketchy as in what all plays out. It's almost like a death prediction. Death is coming on the way, because to have a song and mention something like that before you die, and then later on you die, is to say, well, man, what was it? Not self-fulfilling prophecy. No, not revelation or anything like that. No, it's almost like you spiritually see something, whether you believe in spirits or not. You see something that awaits you, and yet you don't before. Subliminal things, even with that, me saying, well, this pertaining to my own life in relation to a friend of mine that died, and I mentioned that in a song, that could be almost me pointing in a direction, as in death is showing me it's coming, and yet I don't know that it's coming. Because even writers have been known and are known to write stuff in their own lyrics, or when writing books and all the rest, that they say stuff before time. They're able to see what is coming further ahead. And I am known to do that sort of thing as well. I can write something and write it out real good, and next thing you know, in a matter of days, it happened. I have that happen all the time, even on social media. So, obsession and crazy thug fans. I had to put that out there. Obsessive crazy thug fans, you want to question that too at different angles. Crazy fans have been known to kill their favorite celebrities. So could a random thug fan have wanted Nipsey dead? Or could a crazy fan who may have disliked something in which was in one of Nipsey's songs, whether current, whether present, or past? You got people that don't like stuff that you said in the past in your songs or interviews or whatever, and they come along and they kill you. And I'm mentioning this in relation to John Lennon of the Beatles. John Lennon was in fact killed by a fan, a twisted fan. John Lennon was, yes, shot and killed by an obsessed fan. People do all type of things for all type of reasons. You would want to say, well, why did, this fan kill that person? Didn't Eminem have a track entitled Stan? What was Stan about? I thought that was about a fan being in love or something with Eminem, and the fan writing him or something like that. I can't remember. My memory waxes and wanes with that sort of thing. Notice I said waxes, right? But you do, yes. Some people will want to get next to you, can't have you down, and they could be the same sex, even in hip hop. Obsessed, starstruck fan, become delirious and want to get next to you, can't be around you, so they get rid of you for whatever. People like that sometimes have schizophrenia and other issues like psychosis or paranoia or something. They be, when they interviewed later, well, I was told, I'm saying the crazy whoever, I was told that, this was going to happen and that was going to happen. Sometimes paranoia or psychosis go along with that, as in them hearing that they were meant to kill whatever celebrity. That's a bit much. So former gang ties and gang relations. Nipsey spoke with Vlad TV on his rolling six. Let me rewind. Pause. So Nipsey spoke with Vlad TV on his rolling 60s gang affiliation as a teen. The interview was recorded back around 2014. Once again, to leave something is to say, was it still there? In the form of affiliation, and with who? Helps to watch your circle, keep it small, and be observant as well as wise in choice, as in who you choose to surround yourself with. Individuals sometimes even from the past, and you can sense it. That's why people leave certain individuals or certain areas or surroundings with people, because they can feel that the energy is not right with those people. They can feel a jealousy. They can feel something within the person, which is why some people, in fact, leave and get away from individuals, because they can feel it. I've been known to feel stuff about people, and in fact was indeed right. Why, I don't like how me and that person is cool, but I be feeling like if something goes down wrong, such as if I get an opportunity or something, greed can be met in that, such as envious eyes and people wanting to take you out with that. I've had things that I've felt from individuals that say, oh no, that's not gonna work. You might in fact want to shed a tear by moving along and getting away from them. Because if you don't, that's going to be your demise with that. See what stuff leads to in the end is all I'm trying to say. That's not somebody trying to think that they're high and mighty and all the rest. No, you're looking out for your own well-being and safety with that. So how would Nipsey's former gang ties or former gang relations feel about him in 2019? How would any of Nipsey's gang ties or gang relations, even from the past, how would they feel about him in 2019? Seeing him doing well and all the rest. Greed, jealousy, right? How would the Bloods, the opposite gang? Because see, the rolling 60s, when you think about Crips and all the other stuff with that, a lot of people say Nipsey remind them of Snoop Dogg, because somewhat his style is like his, as well as his rap flow is like Snoop's, right? So the Crips and all the rest, when that situation and ordeal, all that rivalry and secret stuff with that, and then the LAPD got to figure out how would the Bloods feel about Nipsey in 2019? That's all that you want to know. Because there's fame and status with that. When you're young and you're a teen and you're however you're doing, and then one day you blow up, and then next thing you know is rivals with that, right? There could be jealousy of wanting you to be putting your lights out with that, right? Because many of them will question, well, such and such was a gang member and now they all big. Well, yeah, many, and they know that too. Many celebrities were in fact gang members and now they big, but not everybody can take that, even of members of a rival gang. They want your lights blown out with that, because many of them still struggling. Many of them, in fact, still want to be struggling. I ain't gonna sit judgmental. Remember, I came from 3 hood environments. 3, not 1, right? 2 environments where I was born and raised, and then I had an auntie and uncle where I would stay on the weekends, right? People like to say, well, people don't have a choice but to join gangs when they're black and they're male. Yes, they in fact do have a choice. There's people that are not gang members and never have been, and yet they were surrounded by that sort of thing. There's a thinking for yourself, as in a logic and reasoning. Well, I don't want to get involved with that because I don't know where my future might end up. But I got love for y'all anyways. I'm saying how a black male should think. And many of them, in fact, have. That's why many of them are progressing and surviving today. People that know how to think for themselves in place of being a follower. How you come from broken homes. People come from broken homes and then they go join a gang. Yes, because they feel that they need that. Well, you can get comfort and everything else from other individuals that are not part of gangs. Joining gangs is in fact a choice. Joining a gang is in fact a choice, whether people want to believe or not. Because it have 50 million individuals surrounding you and they have nothing to do with gang activity in itself, is to say there's ties there. Join family with them. Who don't know that sort of thing? I still got love for Nipsey. I got love, yes, for a lot of individuals. I'm speaking the truth. Survival. Even in teaching your kids that. What not to do, because there's jealous people. You want to listen and learn, as in stop, look, and listen. Was that a song back in the day? I believe it was. I think Will Downing sung it later on. But so, could there have been any silent beefs between Nipsey and could that have involved Crip members or Blood members? I asked that like for the 1,000th time. Because beef was all in this. And it shows. Rap affiliations, I want to question that in one sentence, right? Because when stuff like this play out, that's the very first question. As well as asking employees, or asking of employees, could somebody have been fired once from the job at Nipsey's place of business? You always want to ask the rap affiliations first as well. Could there have been any silent disputes between he and former label mates? Why did I say label mates? Well, you can in fact ask that as well, depending on the rapper, right? But that slipped out. I'm gonna leave it there. Could there have been any disputes between he and say any individuals on any label up until his death? Because to know that there was a female celebrity there, being his woman, that's why you want to question that sort of thing. Not all males know how to take a pretty, very beautiful woman, Laura London, being as fine, as attractive. I can say that myself, even being a female sitting here. Sometimes people that are on major labels and all the rest, they might have all the applause and loudness, but sometimes them male individuals can't even take somebody like a Nipsey Hussle being with a Laura London doing and being as good as she was in broadcasting on TV with interviews and all the rest, right? Rap affiliations at times will kill you because people can't control. That's in fact bitch mentality. Pardon my language with that bitch mentality. When grown men get jealous about even a woman, you're having somebody beautiful on your arm, that all of that. So phone records. I just don't like stuff like that when men get jealous of somebody having a beautiful woman and then they go kill the man or something. I just don't like that. That's in fact that mentality. I said it. So last conversations on the phone or in person, you would want to ask that as well. Phone records and all that pertaining to Nipsey Hussle. What would Nipsey's conversations, what could they have been like, his last conversations, the days up until his death, considering his stature, such as his fame, his status of fame? What would the last conversations have been like between individuals he surrounded himself with, even in ties at a distance with individuals, even of present or of his past? That you will want to try to figure out, as in decipher. So could there have been more killing intention? You would hope Nipsey wasn't secretly involved. This is very good. This is, yes it is, because people don't really, when I scoured around, people go too much by the he say, she say. They don't even ask this type of stuff. They see, oh, well, a famous couple. Once again, I know about fame in which I ain't even speaking on, which even you, the viewer, possibly don't even know with that, as in what is orchestrated and what is not. Because I had to go long in depth when somebody was saying, well, let's discuss this celebrity. I said, no, let's not. Because to know that the majority of things that is set before you in relation to celebrities is orchestrated to begin with, is to say, let's leave it alone. Right? Jussie Smollett from Empire and all the rest, I was speaking about stuff in relation to orchestration. When you orchestrate stuff in relation to celebrity stuff and stuff being found out later to not be real. Days before that situation happened, I was sitting online on social media discussing there's celebrities that set up their own demise, failure in a sense, and yet it's not real. People set up things in which is fame related, and they're doing that to keep you talking, as to keep their name in your mouth. Because that's what fame is keeping their name in your mouth. And the only way to do that is to orchestrate things to make it seem like they're either failure, that either somebody is out to get them. Because applause can be gained in that later. The falling on your... Because look, people don't understand. Many famous people, in fact, lead very boring lives. To be a famous person and lead a very boring life is to say nobody's going to want to watch that. So you, in fact, invent scandal. That's how famous people, in fact, stay famous. Is a creation of scandal that is not there, because even applause can be gained in that. Well, such and such got in a fight to do this and got in a fight to do that. That's more hyper with that, as in you're going to want to watch that quicker than you're finding out, well, such and such rapper or singer is at home just laying on the couch watching TV all throughout the day until it's time to do interviews. And when they have their lawyer or attorney come in to walk them through stuff or whatever, when they put together whatever PR, public relations and all that, when it comes to mass media, Well, such and such just be laid around on the couch and they have the people come into his home because he hired them, and he or she just be kicked back with that sort of thing. That's boring when you put that out and portray that in the light on mass media. Portray it in the light mass media. No fans is going to want to hear that sort of boredom type of. They're going to want to hear extreme. That's what makes people tune in. Extremism. That's how ratings and all the rest can be found. An educational video like this, as toned down as it is to say it's not going to have that many views. Trust and believe I can sense that it's not going to have that many views because ain't no extremity here. I ain't bringing no shooting, no killings, and no guns out sitting here with a 9mm or a shotgun rifle. People want extremes, which is why celebrity lifestyle is in fact fake and is created with extremes. That's to get you to watch. Because even ratings and all the rest pays with that sort of thing. Journalism pays, right? So, all I'm saying is don't take everything at face value. To those that never worked in Hollywood or been around celebrities secretly and quietly, you don't know what you're watching is all I can say, and leave it at that. So, when it comes to killing intentions and people not questioning this, despite this is how I got off topic and I'm going back on. Anytime a celebrity couple is on TV and everything looks primped and pretty, that does not mean that the relationship is all what it appears to be. Even lovers have been known to get in fights, some fist fights, and then they get out in public because remember, you're building fame. I can go really deep in depth and I don't want to do that sort of thing right here on this camera just to tell you how even orchestrated acts, it's like working for the circus. And most people don't know that sort of thing. How you orchestrate this and then you follow it with a story with that. And then this has to be followed with a story with there's a timeline period and everything. I'm looking at a famous person right up above, one of my favorites, and yet I know what is all to be known about the industry itself, about this orchestration, even when it comes to relationships when they're not real. Now, Nipsey Hussle's relationship with Laura London more likely was real and authentic, right? And yet not everybody's relationship, celebrity-wise, that you see on TV, they're not always real. And people that say that they're no longer in a relationship with another famous person, sometimes they are in fact lying to you. You think that they're not with that person. It could be a famous celebrity that's a rapper, singer, and they'll lie and say that they're not with this other famous person, and they are in fact with that person. They're doing that to cover their tracks because remember, to be famous is in fact to sell a product such as yourself. And so to be a single man or to be a single woman is to know the crowd is going to want you because you're single. Perception is changed once people find out you're in a relationship, which is why people of famous status act single. Or they hide their relationships despite them being together from the public, right? There's a lot of things that I know and I ain't even saying. I leave that aspect alone. But when it comes to Laura London, let's pause on her for a second. So would you hope, I would in fact hope Nipsey wasn't secretly involved with some woman on the side despite him having the woman in which he was with. Because that can in fact lead to payback as well as in a killing. That wasn't one of these situations, so we removed that. But this goes back to me getting off topic and people not asking these sort of questions on even Laura London's situation, him being involved, and if Nipsey could have stepped out of the bedroom with somebody else and a payback being offered with that. You don't just look at something at face value, especially a famous person, and just take it as that. No, there's deeper layers to celebrityhood, let me tell you. So the couple's relationship, Nipsey and Laura London, how good were the couple's relationship off screen? I mentioned that. How good were they relationship off screen despite the relationship appearing well put on screen? I just explained with that. There's many celebrities that been out since the beginning of time that will stand right. Not Nipsey. I can tell that their relationship was real. But let me rewind back. There's been many celebrities that have in fact set foot on camera. Yes, with that local, national news, global media, all the rest. and played and faked like a relationship was real when it in fact indeed was not. Happens all the time. Well, this is my love and this is let's go walk out, because even that's set up. That's orchestrated as well. When you see people, when you open up magazines, there's certain print magazines, I won't even say what name because you possibly will stop buying about time I say. But when you see them stepping out and they got such and such on their arm, or they're talking, walking down the street, right? That's in fact not real. That's been set up. That in fact points in with paparazzi as well, as in how a famous person would in fact pay paparazzi. There's a lot of things to industry. Everyday people, they don't know. And yet to watch me is to understand, right? My question is, how good were they as a pair? Lauren, why do I always say Laura? Lauren, let me fix her name. Lauren London, as well as Nipsey. How good was they as a pair behind closed doors? Because even husband and wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, and or lovers, they have quarrels or relationships type of fights. Not always fist fights, but there are disagreements, right? Anything can happen with that, and yet once again I can sense that's not one of the cases. So jealousy from outside the couple's relationship. Could any other males have wanted Lauren London, the woman he was involved with? Could any other males have wanted her? Could any other males inside or outside the industry have wanted her? Could any other males have tried to flirt? People, I was surprised that nobody asked this question. This is in fact good logic, reasoning skills, workable brain type of question set with that. That was I strung all that together. But could any other male have tried to flirt with Lauren London while Nipsey was nowhere around, and say she told Nipsey about the situation on low key? How you have one man and he flirt. He could either be a famous rapper or not. He could be an everyday person that was in ties with Nipsey, or maybe not. That could go flirt with Nipsey's woman. She mentioned it out her mouth, and then yeah, the situation leads to something more deeper. That more than likely wasn't the case here as well, but you still want to question, because that man is questionable, whoever he is, in relation to gangs. People think of gang ties and think that that's all. To say gang ties is to say 50 million more ties with that, as any situation could have taken place with this individual. People think, oh, well, he had gang ties or was gang member, and Nipsey had old former gang ties or past or present gang ties, and that's it. No, there's more to be questioned. Millions of questions with even gang ties and that. Because Miss London, no, we're going to leave her out. But even if it was Nipsey was with another woman, anybody could have crept in a bed with that. Know how to question things and analyze things and murder analysis and research with that. I can still sense it wasn't one of those situations. So when it comes to, because friends have been known to fall out, enemies have been known to fall out over women, all that type of stuff. I said that before, and it can lead to ending in disaster such as murder. I asked that. We asked that already. I did. Could any rapper, male or female, have had issues? Male or female rapper have had issues with Nipsey and his woman being together. Women have been known to put hit out on people as well. So, because anytime there's rappers, is to say there's individuals in the industry, outside the industry. Famous male equates to more women, which could equate to more men being involved, as in men being hired in murder, right? And yet, once again, we can sense that this is not one of those situations, and yet it goes that deep, far, and wide. Just saying. Nipsey's demeanor or reactions to things. I'm wondering how well did Nipsey respond to personal conflicts within business or in his personal life. I'm wondering, did he at any time ever threaten anyone? Would Nipsey be known as an individual that will threaten people when he would get mad? And that sort of thing turn right around and bite him in the butt or something like that, right? You don't ever, what I'm trying to say, I got love for Nipsey, but you don't ever want to completely take up for a man you don't completely know, because sometimes people portray, even celebrities do that, where they portray a calm demeanor around people that's used to seeing them publicly, and then sometimes behind the scenes when they're away from, remember, because he had fans, and not only that, he had business associates or whatever. The fame status is, people don't understand the act of celebrity. They'll say, well, you know, Nipsey was more likely a cool dude. I got that sense and impression as well, right? There's all type of, I won't say Janet Jackson, but there's famous people out here that they portray themselves one way to mass media in the public because that's how they completely remain famous, and yet that's not all the way them behind the scenes. Like, they're completely different person. As in there's a one public press person face, the public persona, and then behind the scenes is a completely different opposite face. That's why I'm questioning, was Nipsey, could he have always been a cool, level-headed type of dude? Yes. His demeanor. How would he handle conflict, even business conflict? Would he go off on the phone? And yet even that can be hidden from, say, somebody that might open their mouth and put that out to media. There's a game when it comes to celebrity and stardom and all the rest. Celebrities, in fact, control their own media, despite there being journalists outside of them that work for other corporate mass media platforms, right? Celebrities run, control, and operate their own media. So oftentimes anything just can't be put out on them. That's why things is able to be hidden away from the public, and then come to find out such and such was this way or such and such was that way. But on TV they were not. That's because they control their own media. So his demeanor is in fact questionable. Nipsey in conflict. Yeah, I wonder how well did he handle his personal issues, even with others. Him being half African. You got many mixed race people that are in fact calm in demeanor, and they react differently to situations, or react differently. They react differently to disputes. Some people can get very angry and bitter and wild and sporadic, or some people can be more mild-mannered and laid back. That's not to say race plays you just want to just question all. I wonder if at any time was Nipsey, yes, was he just always laid back? That's a vital key question. Because however he handled situations with this individual that supposedly killed him, possibly did, right? Very well, much so, right? Suspect does not mean guilty. Always remember I said this. Suspect does not mean guilty. It's just somebody that is questionable, right? And yet, Nipsey, his demeanor, because if he was not good at conflict, that can get you killed as well. So, hangouts and friends. Nipsey's hangout and friends. What could have been Nipsey's hangout spots and why? And two, who would be invited to hang out at those hangout spots? And what will be their reason for being there? And I'm saying this, just because someone is your friend does not mean that they are. You want to keep your circle small with fame. That's why famous people, in fact, do with that sort of thing, right? Even war ties with all, whatever with that, right? Even close friends have been known to kill one another over money and or business deals. All the rest with that. Hangout spots, round number 2. Could NIPSEY's hangout spots and or activities, could those spots or activities have involved the shooter? And we're going to see as time go on what took place as more details come out in the media as time go on. So the hangout spots and activities involving the shooter, if it did, how and why. I asked that could someone have hired the shooter, but seeming as personal as to say more than likely not. So with my closing, dear viewer, leave me a comment in the comment section if you hung on this long. We're 55 minutes strong, right? With that, what do you think and sense and believe about the situation yourself? I question enough to say what I think and feel. With that, leave it in the comment section. When it comes to black on black crime, what I don't like is me coming from the hood. What I don't like is black on black crime is not paid enough attention to. Black on black crime. Because in my hood, people was murdered left and right, which is why, yeah, moved out of the hood for that simple reason. People getting killed in the door, next door neighbor being half beat, whatever, because somebody trying to break in, 5 or 6 different people at once trying to break in, right? And yet that's always downplayed in the hood, whereas police brutality is always glorified in a sense. Not the actual victims being beat on or police being glorified, but in a sense it almost seemed like when it comes to police brutality, that's always the conversation more so than people that are black being killed by other blacks. Why is that? Why downplay black on black crime and yet glorify the discussion of police brutality? People that do that, it's almost as if they hate their own kind or something. I ain't never liked that. I in fact pose arguments with other individuals about that sort of stuff. Why are you sitting discussing police brutality and yet you don't want to discuss the 5 or 6 year old girl that got her brains blown out? 6, 7-year-old that got her brains blown out while she was doing homework, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, years back. She was sitting there innocently, and she ain't the only one. Bystanders that get struck and killed by another person that looks like them in color and flesh. Black on black crime. Why isn't that given or paid enough attention? It helps to do a good deed to society. And not saying, well, you know, white people, because I can't stand that. When I say, well, you know, police brutality, I understand that. I can make sense of that, right? I got that. But at the same time, you don't overlook your innocent loved ones, in a sense, people that look like you, to go focus on police brutality. And yet you don't give black on black crime the same shine as you do police brutality. That does not make sense. Because it always make me sense that you don't love your own kind. When somebody is killed in senseless crimes, and then you say, well, let's go talk about the white officer that did this and that, and oh, such and such that got killed by one of our own and be okay. No, they will not. Because they died senseless. People have been known to turn against me for that sort of conversation. And I don't care, because I don't like them type of people anyway. I don't like them type of people anyway, because I could be close or could have been close to somebody that was, say, murdered traumatically. And yet people want to bypass, well, they want to say, oh, I knew that individual that got killed. Oh, I knew such and such, right? But they don't ever want to look at the person that was doing the crime. They just want to overlook that. I don't get that. That's almost like some type of self-hatred and saying, well, you know, white people do it too. I'm not caring about all that. I'm asking, why is black on black crime going on? You can say, well, the white man started it. I don't want to hear about that, because that's excuses. It seems like people use a petty excuse as in a petty cop-out with everything. Ain't nothing real about that. Ain't nothing at all, and it don't resolve anything with that. I just don't like that type of stuff. I never could, because it's all type of people in this world, you or I, who have had family members that have been victimized in that way. And then we just get downplayed like, oh, well, you know, their life didn't matter. And yet it's black people that's saying that. Their life didn't matter, but let's go discuss these cops that's killing everybody. No, I don't want to discuss that if you can't discuss black on black crime. That's not equally with even that. That's not equal with that. I just had to say that because I get angry about that. There's some of us that have loved ones we can't bring back with that sort of situation. I ain't saying no names with that type of thing. Everything is cause and effect. Yes, it is. But to continue to overlook that black on black crime is just as real as police brutality is to say that's a flawed mindset. So, yeah, leave me a comment in the comment section. I can't be bothered with either or. Right. And then people wonder, well, why did you leave? Why did you leave the hood and yet you still got hood ties or still talk to people in the hood? Because people don't value your life. That's not to say all hood people is that way. No, it's not. And yet I just don't like what I just spoke on. Yeah, in fact, place value on everybody's life. You see, I'm doing it. I include all races when it comes to, well, who got killed for this? Well, what was the reason for this? Or what was the... That's outside of video. I include that because I want to know. Every race, in fact, is valuable to me. Every victim is valuable to me. Not just one side more than another side and saying, well, they did it too. No, everybody's all the same in my eyes, because people will be more likely quickly to turn against you over stupidity stuff. And sometimes it's your own kind, even when you haven't did anything wrong. You can die by the hands of your own kind. Look at this Nipsey Hussle situation for what it is. You can die by other hands of other races as well. But it's a tribe mindset. This is all tribal mindset outside of gangs and all the rest. To say, well, I'm black is to say, well, I'm going to be accepted by black. And yet not all the time. You might not, in fact, be accepted by other races. White folks. You could be black and white folks not like you. We know that sort of thing. Asian people might not like you. Mexicans, right? Indian people. All that. But it's nothing worse when you're a part of a tribe of a certain skin tone and your own turn against you. There's nothing worse than that. The feeling that you feel. It's like you don't even belong. So what people do sometimes, they just remove themselves pertaining to them saying, well, you know what, I'll say hi and bye. I might keep a small conversation here and there and then move on. I don't know what is going on with this whole crabs in a barrel mentality. I just can't get with that sort of thing. When people do better or get lifted up or whatever, you should in fact praise them for that. Nipsey Hussle should have in fact, despite the beef, have been praised for that. Not like a god, not revered like a god or revered like a god, none of that. But what he was trying to do was so different. Technology, knowing that technology was the future and young black kids needing to know. With that, I was hearing where people were saying, well, it was the government that killed him. No, whoever is saying that have a flawed mindset with that. Those days of the conspiracy theorists and all that other stuff need to let that go. That's laziness and not wanting to use logic and reasoning skills with that. To say, well, because when this first happened, I said, you know what, it was more likely some employee or it could have been a friend. My main focus was, well, who? Because see, when you say the word power, anytime you say having strong enemies is a blessing, that in effect represents power. So what I thought was, well, maybe gang, right? Maybe it was somebody of his level of stature, fame, something like that. Because strong is in fact a very strong word. It represents power. That somebody being on it, to say that, like Nipsey said it, I felt like there was some beef issue. Close relationship could have been in business with him, a business partner or something like that that went wrong. because power is there. You're using powerful words, saying strong, having strong enemies is a blessing. That's saying somebody is on the same level as you. That's how I took that, right? Some of this senseless stuff, man, it's nothing like when it's a brown faced figure that kills another brown face. That type of stuff. So we're in fact on ID. The ID logo sits up in the far left corner. Unlocked episodes to gain access, preview with all the rest, right? Audio visual preview. You can in fact click right here to gain access to this. Add to watch later is to click the plus sign. We're in fact on investigationdiscovery.com for all the latest and greatest with that. I'm just gonna skim through to not waste time. On last night to gain access to in fact provide your provider, whoever you're subscribed to gain access, because this is in fact exclusive. Anything with a key located on it is in fact exclusive. Unlock series, you can flip through this yourself once you come on here. Recommended for you, shouts out to Lieutenant Joe Kenda as well as Paula with that. Madeline McCann, I got a video coming for her as well. ID Go original series. Flip through either one of these and gain access to see what you like with that. Schedule preview is available. Crime Feed, crimefeed.com. To gain access to the crime feed is to click right within here. You would in fact be directed to the other side, which is crimefeed.com, for all the latest, greatest in mayhem. Murder, mass mayhem with all that. To receive a newsletter from Investigation Discovery is to type an email address in and click next, and you would in fact receive a email. You would in fact receive a newsletter, I'm sorry, with that sort of thing. So leave the comments below. How do you feel about this situation? How do you feel about black on black crime? How do you feel about there's really no versus police brutality versus black on black crime. I think what Nipsey should have did was moved out the hood situation, as in detached himself, but continue to give back or something. As in not just be walking off freely through the hood the way that he did, not having bodyguards and the rest. That's just disaster. So I'm going to end this video out for now. There's no more words to be said. I hope you enjoy your day. I would in fact enjoy mine, and I'm gone.